we're right back in the studios here live at Viewpoint with Dr. Jonathan Astroth, president of Lincoln College, and our cohort and co-host, Judith Busby. 648-5510. Should anybody have any questions about Lincoln College or they want to talk with Dr. Astroth? Something that I want to mention, Jonathan, is we've talked about this before in other programs, the significant economic impact that the college makes here in this community. It's very significant, and not only are we very happy to have the college, but economically it's a huge boost to the community.
And no question about that. When I was at Heartland, we had an economic impact study done of the institution, and just to try to demonstrate to the community in Bloomington Normal what impact that institution had on the local economy. But economists can tell you quickly how many times you need to multiply a dollar of the budget of Lincoln College to get the local economic impact, and it's dramatic. It's dramatic. So one of my phrases when Heartland was formed, because there were those who resisted its formation, was, if you can't love us as a college, love us as a business.
So there you go.
Oh, there you go. All right. I'd also like to address the cultural impact that Lincoln College offers our community. We have this neat museum out there, and I urge folks to come. And in the year 2011, we'll be getting that moved into the Lincoln Center. What a joy that's going to be. The other cultural factors, plural, are what we do at the Johnson Center for the Performing Arts with our musical and our theatrical programs. And the community can come and enjoy. A plus for the community to have that. Which brings me to the fact that we're, in a couple of weeks now, we're going to have what's known as a soiree.
Right.
That is, of course, typically a fundraiser for the Lincoln Museum. We'd urge folks to inquire about that. It's not very expensive for a grand gala evening done up to the nines by the staff, with special emphasis on the food that will be being served by Warren Wetland's great staff. It's not too late. You might make an inquiry. Tickets are only $85 a piece for a grand evening. And so if anybody's interested out there, call Lincoln College, 732-3155. They'll be glad to give you the information on how to be a participant and have a great evening.
I have to ask you one question.
Sure.
In your years in higher education, have you ever had a cafeteria run the way Warren Wetland does?
Never. I've never been around such a good cafeteria. No.
Really?
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
He's a miracle.
Yeah, I remember about 10 years ago coming to Lincoln for a meeting with Lincoln College officials and having lunch, and thinking, wow.
It's amazing.
It's unparalleled.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
I don't know where he gets those damn small strawberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
These Wisconsin guys they're very creative.
I asked him at one point because my kids, when they were in college, would complain about, the food in the cafeteria is awful, And I said, do you ever get complaints from the students? And he said, oh, yes. But then when they go on for their junior and senior years, they may write back or call back or stop in when they're home and say, you remember when I said I didn't like your breakfast?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's really special. I mean, you just don't find that level of food service at almost any institution. College, hospital, any place.
Yeah, well, over and above the food.
Or restaurant,
exactly.
Over and above the food, you'll find a seasonal, how he decorates there. The aesthetics of the dining hall. He always changes. It's always upbeat and bright and very.
Well, we're
very
unanimous in that. Then we like Warren. Is that right?
We do.
Okay,
we don't want to lose Warren.
We've agreed on that. Now,
well,
let's talk about this slippage you were talking about in education, which is certainly true.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dumbing down in this country, which I think is very special, since the world is just going wacko with all the technology and the countries that are bypassing us in education. I think it's just swell that we're reaching for striving for mediocrity.
Yeah.
Now, back getting back to your years in higher education, are you seeing that come to you from high schools?
Yeah, if you look at who's disappearing from higher education, why we're having this slippage, it's males. And I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I've thought about that and talked with a lot of people about that, but somehow we have to convince young men to go to college and stay in college.
Yeah.
That's not happening now, and we can't afford to let it continue. But yeah, you see that students who come out of the high schools, and I'm not here to bash the high schools. I'm a former high school teacher at one point in my life, and I appreciate the work high schools do, and they have a very difficult job. Because if you talk to a high school faculty member, they'll say it's the grade school. If you talk to the grade school faculty members, they'll say it's the parents, it's the house. They came to kindergarten this way.
Yeah.
And so we have to figure out a solution to what's going on that is fairly comprehensive, I think. But yes, I mean, more students probably than ever before require some kind of remediation when they get to college, whether it's math or English. Those are the two big ones, mostly mathematics. And if you look again at the national scene, American students do great in mathematics until about the 4th grade, and then they plummet. And I guess we need to rethink how we teach math at the junior high and high school levels, or something like that.
Grade,
that's an important
they're just
point.
babies yet, for crying out loud. They're hardly out of the cradle before they lose their touch.
Yeah, but we do well up into a certain point in math as a country on standardized kinds of tests, and then we fall off the chart. And I don't know what to attribute that to, but at least we can identify the problem.
Do you think that it's imperative that the people below you, and they can pass the buck back and forth to one another, whatever works, it's fine by me, but somebody is going to have to grab the bull by the horns and set a little higher standards? Is that what's going to have to happen?
I think the standards need to be clear. I don't know whether they're higher or not, but they need to be clear. One of the things we don't do a good job of in education, and this is from K-12 through higher education, is making sure that what's being taught in high school is well articulated with what's being expected in colleges and universities. And there's been a lot of discussion and energy spent on this item, but we haven't made the progress we need to make sure that I, as a high school English teacher, when I teach rhetoric and composition, I'm preparing students for what they're going to face at Lincoln College or any place else for that matter. So that, I think, is a national issue that needs really focused attention.
It seems like such an obvious way to go. I mean, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I can see that would be a normal progression.
Yeah. From a policy standpoint, it makes absolute sense. What happens at the institutional level is, so in Heartland's case, as an example, 17 high schools feed into that college. Well, each of those high schools and each faculty member in those high schools might teach a slightly different way. And those courses might vary. I mean, high school A may feel this is the way English should be taught. High school B feels slightly differently. And there's a tension, I think, between the individual freedoms of institutions and their faculty versus a kind of a more standardized approach that says, look, the overriding concern here is the students' performance and the students' success. So within these boundaries, perhaps we can have some freedom, but we got to have these clearly defined boundaries so that students don't come to a Lincoln College and find out they're a year in arrears and what they need to know to succeed there.
Well, yeah. Bill and I know someone who in their infinite wisdom said that computers were just a fad. I don't know. That could be, I suppose, but it seems to me that they might be here to stay, right?
Looks like it to me.
Where do you stand on that?
I think since before since before the abacus, I think they're here to stay.
Okay. Well, since we have established that, then what kind of energies does Lincoln College put in that direction? Since we think it may not be a fad. Okay.
In the computer
Technology.
area?
In the whole technology field.
Well, we have the computer science curriculum and those kinds of courses. It's an interesting thing when computers first came on the scene. A good many colleges scrambled to put in place basic computer courses to help students learn how to use these new tools. In 10 years' time, those students coming into the college probably could have taught those courses because they were raised, in the computer era, and so the need for those types of courses declined, and the need for more sophisticated computer courses arose. And I think that's where colleges find themselves now. So the application of computers to marketing, media, digital kinds of applications, that's where most of the college curriculum has gravitated with respect to computers. Now, one thing I think we want to take a look at perhaps at Lincoln College, because I've had people walk up to me and say, hey, would you consider this, would you consider that, is maybe some computer courses more community oriented as well. So there are people like me who didn't grow up in the computer era. Some of them have acquired computer skills along the way anyway by just working with computers, but have reached a point where they need a little instruction to get over the hump on the next use of computers. And I think the college could probably reach out in a community education kind of fashion and say, here's computers for people who are struggling with, Excel or some spreadsheet application or something like that.
Well,
so we may take a look at that.
In fact, one of our staff members at Lincoln College is already tutoring some people that I know, and they're going to tutor a class with another lady and myself on MacBook.
Perfect.
Private tutoring. Vertical death, he's doing it, and the charge is not very much considering what we're doing. Question I'd like to propound to you, Doctor. You're a young man, and yet you've been in education a long time. At some point in time, we seem to stray away from the basics. Now, I recognize that I'm an anachronism in today's time. I'm a dinosaur, but I remember very vividly there was a lot of emphasis put on basics when I was a kid in school. We strayed away from that, or did we?
Probably not as much. I think it reflects student performance, and if students aren't performing as well and we're slipping in terms of some of our higher education measurements and things like that, many people have concluded, well, it's not enough emphasis on the basics, and I think there was a time that was true, particularly more so in the 70s and 80s than now, but I'm a proponent of the basics, particularly for the purpose of critical thinking. I think that's where the emphasis needs to be. I mean, as an English teacher, I know that most of the students going out the door probably aren't going to remember all the grammar lessons that I taught them. On the other hand, if they know how to think and they know where to get answers, I think I've done my job pretty well. And I think perhaps we need to emphasize the basics, including critical thinking and how to acquire knowledge, because if we just keep teaching history over and over again and the world keeps going on and on and on, pretty soon you can't cram all of the history into 2 semesters. I mean, it's just not possible. So you have to teach people how to acquire knowledge on their own and how to sift through it, which I think is a real liability right now. It seems to me that people aren't as equipped as they should be, college graduates, in how to acquire and sift through knowledge and make sense out of what they're receiving.
Lincoln College has been a very, very important factor, social and educational, from all standpoints in our community. And Judith, we're privileged to have a president here that the step from the community factor, the public factor, into the private sector of education, and it's certainly inures to our benefit. We're glad to have Dr. Astroth with us this morning, sir.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I mean, Lincoln College has unparalleled traditions. It's a great institution. I'm happy to be part of it and hope that I can make a contribution.
We're in a win-win situation. We always try to close with a little quote here. And Dr. Joyce Brothers said, speaking of education, success is a state of mind. If you want success, start thinking of yourself as a success. Thank you for Viewpoint.